All right, welcome to a special edition of the Round Ball podcast presented by Barstool Sports. We have a Final Four coach, one of the best coaches, I think, now in college basketball from FAU, Dusty May. How we doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, Marty. I appreciate the kind words. I think probably a little overstated, but I appreciate it.
No. I mean, listen, you get FAU, a school where it's like no one thinks of it as like a college basketball school right away, but you're changing that narrative. And that's like my first question. How has it been since like kind of making a Cinderella run when it's not really Cinderella, probably in your eyes, because you knew that roster was good enough to do that all the time? But like, how has the aftermath been going into this year?
It's been hectic. We talk about a lot. Life has changed for all of us drastically. Our day-to-day responsibilities, the amount of media, promotions, things like that, and it's part of the storm. I mean, with NIL and everything going on, fortunately we were able to catch some momentum at the right time, but we also had to capitalize on it. We couldn't sit home and say we made the Final Four. We had to really go out and try to take advantage of what we're able to do, and I feel like we had a great off season. Now, thankfully, it's time to play some ball again.
Is it like you're returning everybody, which is that's where it's all that everyone's talking about now, where it's like, okay, you went to the Final Four, you returned everybody, but like last year, UNC didn't make the tournament when they went to the championship, so like it's not like a guarantee like you guys are gonna be great again, but now there's expectations, and you didn't have that before. How does as a coach like how do you manage these kids' expectations now, where it's like everyone knows who FAU is, like there is a little bit of a target on your back, but it's also exciting.
Yeah, Marty, we think sometimes you just have to live it. We talk about it a lot with freshmen. Sometimes they just have to touch. We can tell them the stove is hot. We can beg and plead for them not to touch the stove, and then sometimes they just have to touch the stove to believe it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the same thing where we know what a lot of our issues are going to be. It's just a matter can we overcome it, and it's so easy to sit here and say, well, we have to match their emotional energy. Well, we're a top 10 team coming into the opposition's gym. And so it's different for all of us. So we are going to have to find a way to match the other team's energy and emotion while also playing good basketball. And the last couple of weeks we've played a little bit tighter. We haven't shot it as well in our scrimmages, and it almost looks like we're facing some of our fears now, and that's a good thing because we'd much rather be figuring some things out why they don't count versus taking some L's and having to learn the hard way. So we know it's going to be difficult, but we're also not obsessed with the results. We're probably going to lose a few games. We have to respond the right way, and we have to get better because we weren't very good last year in first week of November, and we're not very good right now. So we got to improve like we did this past season.
I love the honesty because you're like, yeah, it's like you don't want to play your best ball in November. You played your best ball in March, so it's exactly what you want to do. But it's just cool. Like it just we were just talking like FAU is your pitch to come there like it's beautiful in November. Like is that like one of the easiest pitches to a college kid? Like listen, it's always going to be nice here. You don't want to go to these
Yeah.
cold ass schools.
Well, 100%. And we don't really, I mean, we tell our guys, hey, if you like the beach, go on Sundays. And our guys do yoga on the beach, they'll meditate. Go on Saturday mornings if we got afternoon practice. We want you to enjoy living in Boca. I mean, heck, people spend their entire lives working, hopefully retire at a place like this. Why you wouldn't take advantage of it? But what we really sell is the mental health piece, man. When it's 70 and sunny and clear blue skies every day in November and December, if you don't think you're more productive as a worker, as someone chasing their dream, then you're crazy. Because I've lived in a lot of cold, gray cities, towns, and it's not the same.
Coach May, I'm not too smart. I went to college in New Hampshire where, you're in college from September to May. In New Hampshire, October to April, it's just dark every day. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. You can go to college anywhere. Why not go to school where it's warm? The dumbest thing I did, well, one of the many dumb things I did, but yeah, that's up there for sure.
I say it a lot, man. If you don't know what you don't know, and growing up in the Midwest, we didn't know what it was like. When I came down for my interview, though, I did look at my wife and say, "Do we really have a chance to live in a place like this?" And ultimately, that was a big part of our decision to come here.
Klemmer, you had one.
Yeah. So we're taping this on Thursday, November 2nd, and Bobby Knight passed away the day before. You have a very interesting history here. You were I want to make sure I get this right, student manager under
Correct.
Bobby
Yes.
Knight. I guess my
Yes.
question is like, what kind of interactions did you have with him, and kind of what did he kind of show you or teach you, or what did you learn from just being in his presence that has helped you today?
Well, first and foremost, he's a master teacher. And what I learned, I tell people all the time as an assistant, I don't feel like I used a lot of what I learned from Coach Knight. And then immediately after becoming head coach, I felt like I was referring back to the things he said and taught daily. And so, there's so many smaller lessons you learn, but most importantly, I think as I reflect and, when this happened and you start getting all these texts from people that you have a common bond with through that experience. And the one thing about Coach Knight, he knew what he wanted the game to look like and feel like and how the game should be played. And he was as stubborn as you could be to make sure his teams played like that every single minute they were on the court. So that's something that I know I have to improve on. I know what we want it to look like, but being more stubborn towards the things that we feel are most important. And then obviously you get good players and they're going to add their creative touch and flair to it. But the things that you believe will allow you to win or keep you from losing, they have to be the main thing.
Oh, it's all really interesting. It's wild that a legacy that a coach has, right? Like I think of Bobby Knight, as someone who, 70s and 80s and 90s had a great, but now you're coaching young kids in 2023, 2024, and some of those same lessons pass on. It's kind of the cool thing about sports is like some of those great lessons that great managers or coaches or teach can get passed on literally from generation to generation. And maybe the kids you're coaching now or the people around you are going to pass on those same Bobby Knight legacies. That stuff's interesting to me.
Yeah, most of our core principles are things that I learned from Coach Knight, and even you hear all the analytic talk now, and back then they were called stats. But Coach Knight used a lot of the same formulas that we're using now, and a little bit different approach. But the points per possession, the foul assist, he did a lot of things outside the box, especially when you factor in he started doing it in the 80s and early 90s, or even the 70s in some case. So he's a guy that was definitely ahead of his time when it came to teaching the game of basketball and the game of life.
Going back to now last year, like, how do you deal with the players? Because obviously you're mad, but you had such a good season. You lose in the Final Four to San Diego State, who is also definitely an experienced team. How do you, as a coach, be like, guys, like I know you're upset, but we just went to the Final Four. Like it's still a successful season, even though it didn't end as a champion. How did you like kind of cope with the players there?
To be honest, we have such a mature group and they all knew that we could come back if we chose to. And my message was simply gratitude to them for young guys, 18, 22-year-olds to do what they did for as long as they did it. Man, we had a 20-game winning streak. We get knocked on our heels. Then we were able to regroup and play really well down the stretch, go into the tournament, find a way to beat what we thought was a drastically underseeded Memphis team. So it was more grateful for the ride that our guys took us on, because our families, our friends, everyone got to be a part of something really, really special. And to see the Final Four banner in our gym is surreal, but also just to think of the memories and the connection that these guys built through that experience. It's one of the beautiful things about sports.
Listen, I think it's just like your initials maybe of FAU. I was like, oh, this team's got no chance. Like, oh, Sweet 16, they got lucky. And then I'm like, then you start to watch you guys more, because you're obviously we're not watching FAU all the time on ESPN, all that. Now we will be. But like,
yeah, come on, Marty.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like when I watched you, I'm being honest, when I watched you, I was like, holy shit, this team is good. Like these guys, the chemistry just between the guys seem incredible. And your team seems like they have fun a lot too on the court. Like it's not like it's so, like you said, you're playing right now, tight and all, but it seemed like they knew everywhere they're going to be. They seem like they're like best friends on the court.
They really are. And we have a core group that's been together for a while, but they have a unique style where they can hold each other accountable. They talk crazy. They're competitive. but they're really, really together and connected and unselfish. And we talked about it my first year a lot when we took this job, that when you're in Boca Raton, Florida, you're in South Florida, one of the nicest places to live in the world. You can't just win if we want people to come to our games. You have to play with a high level of intensity, spirit, teamwork to get people to want to pay money to sit in a gym in 70-degree weather and watch you play basketball. So from day one, it wasn't just winning. We felt like we needed to play a certain style and brand that was, I guess, easy on the eyes, and our guys do that. But I think it's their competitive spirit, their belief in each other, and then obviously we're one of the shortest teams in the country and one of the best rebounding teams. So I think we have a lot of attributes of what people like to root for: the underdog, the smaller guy. It's
Yep.
it's the reason Shaq never got very many fouls called for him, just because he didn't get the benefit of the doubt, because he was by far the superior player and in person.
That's true.
I have a question about some of the media.
Yes. Go.
Oh, sorry, Marty. I had a question about some of the media differences this year. Marty makes a great point. He's like, I'm going to be watching you guys on ESPN, like more like you're because of the success you had last year. It's going to be a different kind of season, I imagine, from a media landscape this year. How do you coach the players to learn from and not get too, like, I guess, blinded by the bright lights? Obviously, you guys dealt with it fine in March, but how do you kind of deal with that from a regular season standpoint?
Well, the biggest issue, I think, is just doing it night in, night out. It's you can beat these teams that are really physically superior, athletically and size wise. It's just doing it night in, night out that makes it tougher. And we're playing a Fox National Game of the Week against Arizona. We're playing Jimmy V on ESPN. We're playing CBS games. So we have a lot of nationally televised games.
You
And
are
the Barstool
playing at
Classic.
the Barstool Classic. That's on Barstool.tv. That will be honestly watched a lot.
No question. I watched it last year when UAB played in it. But absolutely, what a great event for all of us. It's going to get national attention, and playing in Chicago is going to be cool. But yeah, for us to play on all the different media outlets that we are, we just felt like we had to say yes to everything. We've been fighting for a seat at the table for 5 years, and now we get a seat at every table, and hopefully it doesn't make us fat, because we said yes to everything.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I went through your schedule. It is not a cupcake schedule. It is a very hard schedule, but you're right. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, if we get that game, be awesome. Now it's like you could have whatever you want, but it's awesome, though, that you guys are in our tournament. So Barstool Invitational, for anyone that's listening in Chicago, it's Wednesday, November 8th against Loyola Chicago. We interviewed Sister Jean. We got Dusty May. First of all, Dusty May's such a coach name, by the way. That's like, you were born to be a coach with Dusty May.
Well, Mark Titus did a show, and Adrian Wojciechowski is a good friend of mine. He sent it to me, and it was, is this name either a NASCAR driver, a basketball coach, or a professional wrestler? And basketball 100%. Coach, I think, was third. So I think the wrestler or NASCAR driver won out, but I'll take it because it's easy to remember.
I think you could have been a backup catcher too. With the name Dusty May. I can see that guy in the bullpen working
not a starter.
Not a starter. I'll start. Hey, the bullpen guys have a great quality of life.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
They really do. Hey, and Woj, by the way, what a stud that guy is. He doesn't sleep for nothing. I'd love to talk to him one day, because he said that did you see a story of him breaking the James Harden thing? He missed his flight in Newark and didn't.
I did. Yeah, he just didn't get on a flight and fly across the country. But he was writing Miracle St. Anthony when I was a young assistant at Indiana on the road. And so in that book, I went up and watched open gyms and did a couple home visits when he was there. So it's pretty cool that I knew him before he was what he is now. So he's been a nice resource for me. But yeah, he sent me that clip, and I got a good laugh out of it, because those guys, they weren't kind to my first and last name.
That's great. But to touch on what did you enjoy the Barstool Invitational when you watched last year? Because I went also, and it was like it was our first one we ever done, and it's so different. Like, the crowd was so funny. They're a funny crowd. The halftime show is the worst basketball you'll ever watch, but it's also real. Like, the announcers of Dave and Dan are like, so as a fan, is so funny, and I think it's brings a different group of eyes to FAU as well.
No question. And I was laughing last year. We win the game in Ohio, and I'm excited and I have 3 teenage sons, and they come up to the room bragging that they met Portnoy. And I said, fellas, we just won an NCAA tournament game. We get to play again. And they're talking about meeting all the Barstool guys in Ohio. So yeah, I'm a fan. We still do the every time we eat pizza, we do the one bite. You know the rules.
Yep.
So yeah, we're fans. No, we're excited to be part of this, and obviously you're bringing in a different crowd. You're mixing the comedy, but that's what I went to. Fortunately, I've never been to a NASCAR race. I went to the Daytona 400. I couldn't believe what all they did to make it a fan friendly experience. So I know everything you guys do, the fans enjoy, and it's a different type of entertainment.
Yeah, it really is. And Loyola Chicago is a great like first test for you too. Like I feel like it's especially neutral site. I can't wait for college basketball to start. So even just talking about a real game is awesome. But yeah, what's like the expectations for you guys are so high because everyone loves talking about returners. With my question with a lot of coaches now with like NIL, was it hard to re-recruit your team, or were they just so tight knit? Like, because that's what you have to do now, right? As a coach, like, so no one leaves for an NIL deal somewhere else, or you have to keep recruiting every year the same team, right?
Yeah, you do, and the basketball piece is one side of it. The financial piece is another. And fortunately, we're in an area where it's possible. I think a lot of non-Power 5 schools, it's almost impossible to raise the money you need to keep your players. And we didn't have it. We didn't have any infrastructure. We didn't really have a collective. We didn't have anything in place. And then everybody had to work quickly just to put ourselves in position. And to be honest, our players they weren't guaranteed anything. They just were kind of told, hey, everyone here's the NIL agents, everyone's going to work hard to try to help you guys find business opportunities. And so they came back basically just on trust and faith for the right reasons. But fortunately, they have been able to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. And our guys have done a great job, and they've learned a lot through it. I mean, even when you start talking about tax codes and what type of employee are you, I mean, they've been through a MBA course in business and entrepreneurship. So I'm proud of our guys. It's been really cool for them.
It's funny because like the guy who's usually Jordan Bohannon's usually the co-host. Klemmer's filling in, so thank you, Klemmer. We didn't even recognize that, but he was like when he was playing, he was like he had a car wash deal, like his local delis, and it's so funny to see because they deserve the money. Like they 100% work hard, they all deserve it, so it's cool to see. But as a coach, it's the hardest thing every coach is talking about now is like keeping your own guys was the easiest part. Now it's the hardest part, especially for mid-majors, because like the Dukes, no one's leaving Duke, but in one of your conferences, like you said, it's a lot harder. So that's why I think it's 10 times harder to be a college coach right now.
And especially when you factor in the COVID, I guess they're COVID seniors now. They still have another year, and when you factor in, there's probably 500 to 800 older players in we'll call it the system in college basketball, and so now you've got a glut of older players, and so the whole thing has been knocked off its axis. Hopefully, in another year or two, it has settled back into at least some parameters. But man, I think these guys, if they should be able to make as much money as they possibly can and set themselves up for life after basketball, because I mean, the home ownership, if you don't have 20%, it's tough to get a house. So I mean, our guys, because of NIL, should be in position to have a jump start on life, and whatever the next step is, they don't have to take jobs they don't want to just because of finances.
That's true. That's a great way.
Yeah, like what a gift to have all your guys come back. That tells me that the environment, obviously you have the great weather, we talked about that, but just the environment in the school and working with you must be favorable. Or else you would have guys go look for better opportunities or other opportunities, not better necessarily, but or just different opportunities, work with different people. And the fact that they all came back, that's a huge leg up in this environment, like Marty was saying, where it's just so hard in this world to be a college coach. That's something I don't know. That's something I'd be really proud of if I was a coach. I'd be like, all right, yeah, we're Finals Four, but everyone came back and wanted to play again. That's huge.
Coach, actually, I wanted to ask you a question about coming off he's our Barstool basketball coach, Klemmer.
Right.
And I'm the starting point guard right now. So I was wondering maybe if after the interview I could send you some tape of Coach and I and see what you think.
I'll definitely evaluate it.
We're undefeated. We're 3-0-1.
Wait a minute, a tie in basketball.
Yeah, we did tie.
All right, that's new. That's new.
And Coach, if we send you this film, there might have been 2 girls on the other team, but they were good. They were dirty down low. They were elbowing. They were good.
I feel like Coach May is going to want to gouge his eyes out after watching that tape.
Not
fair to him.
Would you guys consider the Elam ending? I think that'd be great for the Barstool and going forward, just to do something different, but especially in the rec league. Yeah, but back to our guys all coming back. I mean, I think anytime it's difficult to leave happy, and I do think our guys enjoy playing with each other. We have a group that they enjoy sharing the ball. They screen for each other. They share each other's success. So I don't think those things are that common in today's society. So there's a lot of reasons why I think our guys appreciated what we have. Now it's our job not to change. And because we spent all summer trying to get better as individuals, it goes back to me focusing on me. We still got to, if we're playing for the guys to the left and to the right, then we'll like where we are at the end of the day. But and it is crazy to think all of our guys at the end of the day decided to come back and try to do it again.
It is, because that's where we talk about this a lot, because like every past champion has an older team. Like there's not like a lot of the one and dones of Dukes and Kentuckys. They didn't win. When Duke won, it was they had Quinn Cook as like their senior. Like there's always the older crew that wins, and you have that, and that's what's exciting. Like you have that chemistry goes so much longer than that freshman who's coming up, and like it's so hard to be a freshman in college basketball, especially what you're talking about, all the older guys. Like we have, who else is on the podcast as well as Hunter Dickinson. Like he still has one more year after this. If you
come on,
yeah. I make fun of him all the time. I was like, how do you have one more year after this? And he's at Kansas now. Jordan played 6 years. Like when you're 17 playing against a 23, 24-year-old, that is a huge difference.
Well, the NIL has saved the big man. The NBA is almost weeded out the traditional centers, and now these guys are able to make a lot of money, because I think I saw the AP All-American team was 5 centers.
Yeah,
are considered the 5 best players in college basketball, and that's it's so foreign to think about, but it's also pretty cool that everything everything changes, and you either adapt and figure it out. I will say this about our profession, and everyone's saying how difficult it is to coach. If it wasn't NIL and it wasn't transfer portal, all of us coaches will be complaining about something. We're going to find something to complain about. So absolutely, would we change a few things? But man, this is a great profession. We get to coach college guys trying to chase dreams. I mean, it's obviously not perfect, but man, I have to pinch myself that I'm able to do this every single day.
Every job you think your job's going to be harder than somebody else's. You complain about anyone. So I like that coaches complain still. But again, you literally have the coolest job in the world. Like it's just seeing these kids grow and like get them to that next level and get their dreams, and also seeing your whole school come to fruition of being a top 10 team. Like, do you feel the excitement is there excitement in the sun in 70 degree weather?
Marty, you guys got to come down here for a conference game on a Saturday afternoon to really get the full gist of what it is. But we've sold out every seat, and in year one, when we took this job, us in the podcast would be half the fans in the arena from year one. That's how we felt people coming to the games, and we could double the attendance. And now every seat's sold. We have an unbelievable home court environment. But what our marketing team started doing a couple of years ago was having Saturday afternoon tailgates at like noon, 2:00 game. And so the other teams pull up from, wherever, somewhere in Kentucky or whatever the case, or West Virginia. The Marshall guys would pull up, and there's a block party outside. They've chopped off the parking lot. They have DJs and bands, and it literally looks like spring break, MTV Spring Break from 20 years ago outside of our gym. So the first couple of years, those students didn't come in. Last year, they all came to the games and created an amazing home court environment.
All right. So sounds like I will be visiting FAU. I'll lead Coach, I'll lead the team out of the tunnel. I'll do the whole thing. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. I actually need to come to FAU this year. That sounds like it's an unbelievable environment.
Marty, FAU in February would be horrible, Marty. That sounds like a real tough time.
Marty, if we can get you in to lead us out of the tunnel, out away from the tailgate, I'll be surprised.
Yes. Hopefully, I make it to the game.
No doubt. Maybe for halftime. Maybe for the second half, you can run us out.
Yeah. But coach, I'm here. I'm ready to go. The game's over, Marty.
I think it could happen.
I appreciate your time. It was awesome talking to you. It's like, listen, you're a Final Four coach. That's kind of crazy to think about. And like in a very young career where it's like you still got a lot more things to do. I'm awesome to know you, and it's awesome that you guys are doing Barstool Invitational. So everybody watch that Wednesday. You guys are 7:00, right?
7:00, yeah, doubleheader.
Yep. 7:00. That's Coach Dusty May. Seriously, I appreciate you so much, and good luck this season.
Thank you, guys. Well, we'd love to host you down at Boca at some point.
I'm going to take you up on that, by the way.
All right, guys.
If I DM you, just don't. You invited me.
Yeah, I did. It's on record. It's recorded, so we're good.
He has instant regret right now. Instant regret.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right, Coach. Thank you
Appreciate
so
it,
much.
guys. Thank you.
Yep. See ya.